Now you just went off. And now it looks like the broadcast is live.
Let me in. Boom, I'm in. Okay. Uh, I don't know if we live or not, but okay, yeah, Bruce, we are live. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. Welcome to another edition of Major Keep Boxing on Monday. You know, a little technical difficulty, but the show goes on. The show shall never stop. It shall always go on. So tonight, you know, we have the a legendary referee, Joe Cortez. We're just waiting for the brother to log on, and we have our other special guest, Mr. Bruce Gas and Jazz. Is that how you say it, Bruce?
Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more.
Of
Appreciate
course,
it,
of
bro.
course, I messed it up. Of course, I did. But yeah, yeah, you know, we just wait for the brother to log on, and then we can start the show pretty much. But Bruce, you know, I've always wanted to ask you about your own show with the jazz and the boxing. You know, how'd you come up with that concept, man?
Well, I've been a fan of boxing since the late '60s, the early '70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I started digging on jazz. I'm getting an echo over here,
Okay,
Tro.
that's probably me because I got the YouTube on. How about now?
Now it sounds. Hello.
Yes, sir.
No, I can still hear it a little bit. When I'm speaking, I can hear it a little bit. Make sure I don't have my YouTube on. Okay, now yeah, it's good right now, perfectly. Okay, and
How about
it's well, I guess it's okay, man. You can ask people in the audience if it's okay. I hear a little bit of a feedback, but now I don't hear it. But anyway, man, yeah, I was a fan of boxing since the late '60s, early '70s. I got into jazz in the mid '70s. I got into it big time. I know I was a musician, but I realized how inadequate I was by watching jazz. I lived in Boston. I hung around at the Boston Conservatory at the different colleges in Boston, and I incorporated. They go hand in hand, boxing, jazz, and more. So that's been my trademark on here for the last couple of years.
and it's definitely working for you. It's working for you, man. No, you still hear the echo or
No, I
no?
don't, not at all. Sounds.
Hallelujah. Okay. I
I
tell
hear
you
it
what.
when I'm speaking. Maybe if I.
No, no, but Bruce, what I was saying that it definitely works for you because you found your niche. You found your niche pretty much, and that's the corner you stay in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to jump off in a little bit to go help Joe log on, right? And then, but yeah, you know, I just want to shout you out a little bit because I've always liked the vibe when I come to your show, and you're pretty much the only one that's in that corner right now with the jazz and the boxing. I think that's kind of cool, you know.
Appreciate that, bro.
All right. Well, let me log off here. You just keep talking to the people, and I'll be right back. All right.
Well, whatever.
I'll be
What,
back, man. I'll be right back.
all right, man. I guess he left me all by myself over here, but I think most of you cats out here know who I am, man. I see G Ball out there, man. I see Jeff Lucietta. I see Sinister out there, man. Appreciate you cats coming in here. I was called by Major Key and Troy to come in here and ask a few questions to the great Joe Cortez. And I don't know if you cats know anything about boxing from back in the '80s, man, and even in the '70s and the '90s. Joe Cortez was he's a great referee. He's still with us, man. He's refereed hundreds of fights, man. There's a lot of questions I want to ask him. He's refereed Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard fights. He's refereed Iran Barkley. He's refereed Thomas Hearns. I mean, dude, it's a who's who of the great fights and the great fighters that he's refereed. And we're gonna come and talk to the guy. He had a boxing career for a while. He was, like I said, he was a referee. He was a judge. He didn't judge many fights, and it's funny because a lot of the referees they also judged the fights. They seemed to go back and forth. But with Joe Cortez, he only judged a handful of fights, but he refereed hundreds of fights. So that's going to be a good question to ask him when he gets on here. And I don't know what else to say, man. I'm just kind of caught on here, and it's an honor to be asked on here to talk to the great Joe Cortez. And it's funny because we just lost Mills Lane and Steve Smoger really recently, and Joe Cortez, he's in the Boxing Hall of Fame, along with I think the other two I mentioned are in there, and it's going to be another interesting thing to ask him how the experiences he had, because those referees, man, they were on every weekend back in the day. They were on HBO, and they were on even CBS, NBC. Especially Joe Cortez, man. He's older than I am. That's saying something. And man, there he is right there. Your microphone is muted, brother.
What's going on, man? My boxing brothers and sisters, I had to join from my phone because my laptop was having a couple of issues, and Joe was also trying to get in. Joe, you're muted, by the way. Just click the unmute button. I can because I can't unmute you on my side. There we go. Let me see. He's got the mute button on. Let me see.
How about now?
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay, great.
Mr. Firm Affair. How's
You
it
got
going,
that
man?
right. Good.
Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, guys. Who's got the echo? Somebody got an echo. Is that Troy? Yeah, it was. All right. You probably have a window open, Troy. No, it's not you? Okay. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and start from scratch here. Mr. Joe Cortez, welcome to the panel. Thank you so much, Bruce Gas. Thank you so much, Troy Grizzy. Let's start off this new year great, man. We got a legendary referee in the building, Mr. Firm Affair, like I said before. Welcome to the panel. How's it going, brother?
Hey, good. Everything's going good. Happy New Year to you guys. Wish you the very best 2023.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, sir. My name is Bruce Gass, and man, I've been a fan of yours. I've seen you hundreds of times, literally, man. I was sitting at the Providence Civic Center when Marvin Hagler beat Wilfred Scipion back in I think it was in 1985, 86 maybe. And you were right there, man. I was in the first row of the balcony, and I saw you live. You've been a fair referee, and you're the kind of a guy where you're not in the picture too much during the fights, and that's a good thing. Now you see a lot. You see more of the referees than you do the fighters, man. And anyway, man, it's a pleasure to be on here with you. And when it's time to ask you the questions, I'll be an honor to ask you a few.
Ready to answer any questions you guys have.
Well, let's start off, and let me put you on the full screen first and foremost. And I think, did you join from the link or did you join from the chat link, Joe?
From the link.
Yeah, he's on screen.
Okay, no problem. All right, so let me go ahead and do this here. All right. So to start stuff off, right? Just let the people know what got you into boxing. Where you're from, what your childhood was like. You know what I mean? Because we like to give people a clear picture of who we're talking to, and before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything.
Sure. You ready to start?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, great. Well, Joe Cortez, you guys know me as fair but firm. I've been in boxing most of my life. And I started refereeing back in 1977. But prior to that, I was an amateur fighter, and then I was a professional fighter. So I started boxing when I met a great fighter by the name of Gaspar Elidio Ortega, from Tijuana, who came to New York back in 1955. I was 12 years old. That's when I met him. Then my brother Mike Golden Boy Cortez, back in those days, he started boxing, and I followed my brother's footsteps. And when I was 16 years old, I won my first novice Golden Glove Championship in Madison Square Garden with 15,000 fans at the Garden. My brother won the novice featherweight championship. I won the flyweight championship. And the following year, I went to open division, and I had already won the novice division. I went to the open. I won the 118-pound championship against a fighter by the name of Angelo Soto. And my brother won the lightweight championship against a guy named Frank Colaluca. And that was back in 1961. In that same year, I took the Spanish Golden Glove Championship, and I also took the Eastern Golden Glove Championship along with my brother Mike. And we were the first brothers ever to win the Eastern Championships the same night in different weight classes. And if you look at the history books and find out who's the fighter that knocked out two guys the same night, nobody can find anyone except for Joe Cortez in 1961 in Madison Square Garden, at the old Madison Square Garden, which is located at 51st Street and 8th Avenue in New York City. I knocked out both opponents. They were both champions. They were both, it was the tournament of the Eastern Golden Glove Championships. If you win that tournament, then you fight for the national championship against Chicago. So my brother and I went to Chicago, and we both took the national championship in Chicago Stadium. And I was 17 years of age, and I had already quite a bit of experience in the amateurs, but only 45 fights. I lost twice in the amateurs, once in Canada and once in New York. And that was it. And then I turned pro when I was 18. I was in the Army. I went into I had turned pro before I went in the Army. So I couldn't fight in the Army, but I was training in the Army, and I was coaching on the team down in Fort Hood, Texas. And when I got out, I continued my career. Actually, I had some fights while I was in the Army. I was able to fight some pro fights in there. And on the weekends, I was able to fly to like Laredo. I was able to Hawaii several times, fought in Hawaii. And I had an 18-1 record as a professional. Fights I had in Mexico are now recorded on the box track. They got me, I think, for 11 and 1 in the box track. But I had total of 19 professional fights, ones that were not recorded in Mexico. Just like my fights as a referee, my first 2 years, you look at box track, they got me turning pro in 79. Actually, I turned pro in 77 as a referee. So there's a couple about at least a good 60, 70 fights are not recorded my first 2 years in boxing. So they got me close to 1,000 professional fights right now as a referee. And I referee over 175 world championship fights. So I've had a lot of experience. Being an ex-fighter helped me a lot. Being a referee, that taught me a lot of the ring mechanics, how to move around that ring. It was easier for me as a referee. It was easy for me also to see when a fighter was in trouble. I put myself in a position, like if I was fighting, I could see the guy's in trouble. Then how hurt he is. That's when I had to, my instinct would tell me, you got to jump in and stop the fight, so these fighters will take unnecessary punishment. And that's where it was most of my career. A lot of fun, a lot of traveling all over the world, and doing world title fights.
All right, man. Thank you so much for that response, man. I think right there, that's a great starting point. And Troy, I know you had some questions related to basically what he just stated right now. As far as his amateur and his pro career, because I had no idea that Joe Cortez was a pro. But he absolutely was. And so doing some research and some digging, you get some interesting information. So go ahead and follow up, Troy, and then we can pass it off to Bruce after that.
How you doing, sir, man? I'm happy to see you and hear your voice.
It's a pleasure, my pleasure. I'm always here.
Uh-oh. What happened? Joe, okay, there you go, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear you though, Joe.
He's not muted. Yeah, he probably just had an internet glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not.
Can you move to another room and see what happens, Joe? Yeah,
No,
because
no,
we
no.
can't hear
We
you.
don't want to do that prematurely.
No?
We don't want to do that prematurely. It might just be his connection. Yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Technical difficulties. Yeah, that's all right. Part of the business.
Part of the business, bro. Shit happen.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to see when I see him in the background again. I don't see him in the background right now. But shit, man. What's going
What
on
a
to the
story.
chat, by the way? Hi, P.
That was
No,
some
go
good
ahead,
stuff.
man. Go ahead. I just want to say salute to the chat real quick. Salute to you know, everybody that always supports. You know, we got Sinister, we got Jibo, we got Jeff Lucietta, Sinister. You know what I'm saying? We got Big Say So, Hyphy, Jerry E, Thomas from the Bronx. You know what I mean? It's G Funky up in the building. So shout out to everybody. What were you gonna say, Bruce?
No, I was going to say that was a great story. The things he was just telling us a little earlier, man. How you know, I knew he had a professional career, and you know, it was short, and he ended it really as a young man, and you know that's I wanted him to elaborate a little bit on that, and then man, I mean, he was just like he said, all over the world, and refereed hundreds of fights. I want to ask him a little bit about his judging and his refereeing, and I mean, I was just watching a. Iran Barkley and Roberto Duran fight when I was talking to you earlier, and guess who the referee was?
That was Joe Cortez, huh?
Small world, small world, but yeah, and it's just so it's amazing, how the stars aligned. You got him on here tonight, and I know how it is with us older guys with the internet. It's not easy. I mean, my grandson can put it together faster than I could, and you know what I'm saying, bro. So it's humbling, and I know it gets frustrating, especially when you're doing a live thing over here. But hey, all's good, man. All's good in the neighborhood. I'm sure he'll be back on here in a second.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And we'll shout out to also young Mikolo in the building as well. Yeah, man, but while he tries to get back on with us, what is some of your, I mean, because you mentioned one, that particular fight, right? Besides that one fight that you mentioned, right? Is there one that stands out where that fair but firm attitude really projected itself, where you can see like, holy shit, like this guy is a great referee? Because with Mills Lane, he was always like a go-to guy. You've got your certain referees that those are like championship level caliber referees, right? And Joe Cortez is up there with the best of them. Right?
Oh yeah, I want to ask him about his relationship with the two who just passed away, Mills Lane and Steve Smoga.
That's what's up. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to ask him, if they. Well, I don't want to ask the questions now because I've got a few that I'd love to ask him, because I mean, this man is royalty in the world of referees back in the 80s, the 90s. Man, this is good stuff, Major Key, and I'm looking forward. I hope he gets back. Hope his internet's
yeah. I'm pretty sure they're working on it, because Troy just left. That means that he's probably talking to him on the phone, trying to help him to get back in or whatever, But you're right. Sometimes with the internet connections, like with the StreamYard and all of that, it's not always easy. Like you got to close out the window so you didn't get an echo and stuff like that. And if you're not familiar with StreamYard and stuff like that, it might be a little more difficult.
It gets confusing, especially for us older cats, bro. We used to have somebody in an elevator press the buttons for us. This is a whole new world out there.
Yeah, that's true. But shit, man. Yeah, Happy New Year to you, man. You got any particular interviews you're gonna be doing this year? Like anybody in particular?
It's just a lot of fun reaching out to these fighters, and I have several several in my phone now, and it's to the point where they're such cool people. The ones that I've been hooked up with, that I can pretty much call these guys, and if they have nothing going on, they'll just do it. And I have a few in mind. I'm gonna call tomorrow. We've been just got out of the holiday. I guess it's still a holiday today for a lot of people. But oh man, yeah, I love talking to these guys, man. I think that's what I was built for. And I don't want to say anything now because I got
I got you. Yeah,
in the
you're still in the works. Still in the works.
a lot of people have a lot of things to do, and hey man, I'm not ESPN or HBO, so believe me, I understand. But I appreciate all these guys when they do come on, and it's just a lot of fun. It's cool just being able to reach out to them, and I'm going to see if I can set something up for tomorrow. I don't think I have any prior engagements, so don't be surprised, Major Key.
Yo, I'll be on there, man. You know what I'm saying? I'll definitely check you out like I always do. You know what I'm saying? I always I love when you start hitting the bong. You know what I'm saying? What do you call it? The what? The Toker 2, right?
I don't smoke it anymore, man. I told you that.
Oh, that's right. You got this new this new blend. This new
Tincture,
blend.
tincture. I extract the essence from the leaf, and it's merged with this real high grain, high alcohol, and it's an 8-hour process, and then and I take that instead. So I still keep my buzz on, but I don't have to deal with the smoke and the coughing, and the sounds like a toilet flushing when I'm doing that Toka 2 online. Remember that irritated Troy for a while there, but yeah, man, I like it this way. The old lady likes it better like this, man. It's the next level. I love the weed, and I'll probably smoke it again if I have no other option. But this is definitely the way to go, man.
That's what's up, man. No, but I'm saying, so when you get on that level though, you start reminiscing, which I love. When I put you on with somebody that you appreciate, I know your questions get deep, and I know that that it brings out great stories. That's why I always reach out to you beforehand when it comes to a legend like a Joe Cortez, or what I'm saying, like an old boxer that that what I'm saying, like really did something in the heyday, but people don't remember because they were probably outshined in history by others. You see what I'm saying? But about all of that. So it's a beautiful thing to hear you bring up these things that sometimes I don't know about. I'm like, oh shit, like Bruce just brought something that I didn't even know about.
Oh yeah, and these dudes, they have stories, bro. I mean, I can tell Joe Cortez, he's got so much man, experiences and so many different bouts that he's refereed, and he can probably tell us some bouts that questionable. And I mean, dude, he's going to be a plethora of information when he comes back on here. This is going to be very, very interesting, bro. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, man. So I dropped the link again just in case because Troy's probably, if he's having difficulty, Troy's most likely gonna bring him on the phone and just kind of like share like a 3-way, because that's usually what Troy diverts to if they're having trouble. And it's true, we do deal with a lot of older cats, what I'm saying, and this technology sometimes is not as easy as what it seems to us, because we got kids, young kids that are like experts at this shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it gets frustrating. I've been on the phone for an hour with a couple of older fighters, and they just couldn't. It was small stuff, but I don't understand it. Then after I figured it out, oh yeah, we got to have Google Chrome to get onto StreamYard, and they were on something else, and they kept telling them they have to download this, and they didn't know what was going on. But hey, like I said, man, we can always get these things straightened out, and we can reschedule the shows. And hey, nobody gets hurt, and we're back on again. So this will be cool getting Joe back on here again, man. He just gave us that nice opening. And
I know, right? That was a perfect opening, right? Like very detailed. Told his story. Didn't hold anything back. It wasn't like he was giving a short answer. So I know that was going to be a great interview. You know what I mean? Starting off from the rip. So hopefully we get him back right now. But I'm waiting on Troy. Let's see something. Okay. All right. So. My bad. I was just texting him back. All right. It looks like he'll be back in a minute. So anyway, man, yeah. So we did the Anthony Peterson on Friday, man. January 1st, early in the morning, I was sauced up, Bruce. I was sauced up, and we had my run on. Right? Do you hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hear you, bro.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
So I had my run on, and we were just shooting the shit and all of that, and then we got in a little conversation about fight of the year, and then said something about he didn't say he didn't mean it from a bad place, but he said something, and I said, "You want me to call Rachel right now?" I said, "Sure enough, she responded as she came on, and then it just became a great thing because later on that day she was re-listening to the StreamYard, right?
I gotta come.
What's that?
Nothing, Major. Go ahead and keep talking.
No, I was saying that. So later on that evening, we went live again, and because Nonito wanted to talk to Myron, and it became a great conversation, a great New Year. It was all positive and all of that. So look. Speaking of the devil, you see, he was hiding in the bushes. He was waiting for me to talk about it. You see, shout out, peace and pugilism to you too, brother. There we go, Boxing Logic United. But Troy just popped up. I don't know what's going on. I mean, here's what I'm gonna do, Bruce. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like to beat a dead horse. If you understand what I mean. I'm gonna go ahead and hopefully Troy pops on and lets me know what's going on. He just popped on and popped off. If we can't get Joe back on in the next 9 minutes, then we'll probably just have to reschedule or whatever. But like you said, it was a great start. Unfortunately, there were some kind of technical difficulties, so hopefully we could resolve that.
Yeah, it was almost like his camera got knocked or something like that. The microphone got cut off, but he was going strong, and it is what it is. We know he'll come back again. He has tons of stories to tell. I mean, I'm looking at the fights that he's refereed in Box Rec right now, man. He ended up with the fight before his last was the Canelo Alvarez and Josito Lopez fight, and that was only in 2012. So for me, that wasn't a long time ago. That was only 10 years ago. And I mean, he's got in that there are well over 100 fights and championship fights. I mean, dude, you go down the line here, and it's royalty. The fights that he's refereed, and I'm sure we can ask him about some of these big fights because I mean, some of these are fights of the year, pay-per-view specials. This is good stuff. I mean, this man has rubbed shoulders with the greatest boxers of all time, man.
That's facts. That's facts. Troy, what's going on, bro? You're not muted on StreamYard. You unmuted yourself on StreamYard. Make sure your actual volume on your computer is also on. Nah, I can see your lips moving. You don't have a mute on you. See, let me see, because I can hear Bruce. Bruce can hear me. We got Boxing Logics United joining right now. Myron, can you hear me? I mean, because Bruce, you can hear me, right?
Loud and clear.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand what's going on. I wonder if we're gonna hear about this shit tomorrow, like some major fucking internet outage or some shit.
I don't know. Mine's working fine. I got a
Yeah.
real setup here, but you never know, man. Sometimes StreamYard comes in loud and clear. Other times it
Yeah, no, because I remember probably like a year and a half ago, where for like a week or something, YouTube and StreamYard they just weren't getting along. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
And that's what I'm saying, Troy. I think I just heard you say, was that you, Bruce, or Troy? Yeah, I can't hear you, Troy, if you're talking. No, I can't hear you. Do you have him on the phone? That's probably what it is. Is that there we go. That's the issue right there. Something's wrong with that. So you have him on the phone, but it's not connecting to StreamYard. You might have to do it on a different device. If you're using your phone, you should be able to just unmute the StreamYard on your tablet, and then on the phone, as long as it's loud and clear, we'll be able to hear it just like a normal voice. So it looks like he's got him on the phone, but for some reason it's not. We're not able to hear him. Listen. Yeah. I'm not sure, Bruce. But I don't want to. I don't want to waste everybody's time. And so I'm going to shut it down. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
And I'll definitely let you know what's going on. Thank you so much for your time, bro. We're gonna try to find out what's going on in the background, and I'm just gonna delete this broadcast because
Yeah, definitely do this one again, bro. This is a great man. We got some great stuff to talk about with him. All right, man. Wait.
Joe, are you there?
I'm here, loud and clear.
All right.
Wow. Okay. You see, I can hear him perfectly. You see
So
what I'm saying?
can
I don't know what happened before. Yeah. All right. Awesome, man. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Apologies again. Apologies for whatever's going on here. But I mean, we were just talking about a great intro, and I know Bruce had some questions while we wait for Troy to get back in. If Bruce, you know what I mean? Bruce is also giving us his time as well. He's actually very knowledgeable in the sport. So I'm gonna let Bruce ask some questions.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Joe, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. My name is Bruce Gass. I do a YouTube thing, and I love to talk to boxers. I started watching boxing in the early '70s, the late '60s, and I've been a fan ever since. And I mean, you've been a constant, man. You've refereed so many fights. Well, the first question I want to ask you is: I notice most referees are also judges. Now, on the other hand, you only judged a handful of fights, but yet you've refereed hundreds of fights.
Right.
I read that in Box Rec. But yet I see your peers, they go back and forth from judging to refereeing. Why do you simply referee?
Well, because back in the day when I started refereeing in '77, they only had 2 judges. And then, being that they only had 2 judges, the referee was the 3rd judge. So we judge and referee at the same time. You see, the 2 judges outside the ring would score, and I would score. Then, after the Dooku Kim incident with Boom Boom Mancini, they wanted the referee to focus more on the safety of the fighters. So they took away the scoring from the referees, and then they brought in the 3rd judge. So now they have 3 judges and a referee. But my first 10 years, I was judging and refereeing at the same time. See? And then I remember when they recruited me out to Vegas before they got me out here, they had me come out to judge the Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks, the rematch. Okay? And I remember I scored that fight. And when I scored the fight, it was my first time out in Vegas, but they called me out as a judge, not a referee. and I gave the fight to Larry Holmes, and the other two judges gave it to Spinks, and the people were booing like crazy. I said, man, they must be booing me. I must have messed up. I'm by myself. And then when I gave it to Larry Holmes, and the commission said, Joe, no, they're not booing you. They're booing the two judges. You're the only one who had it right, you know. But that was my first time in Vegas as a judge. Okay. Then they called me again they were trying to get me to make my move to move out here to be a resident. Because to referee fights, they wanted you to be a resident. And I won't make that move yet. So then they gave me another fight again to judge. It was Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, number 3.
Oh,
And then I said, no, they were still trying to convince me, Joe, if you move out here, you be the referee to fight like this. It was still hard for me to make that move from New Jersey, you know. So I said, no, well, I waited a little bit longer. Then they said for me again, the third time, but this time they sent me out to come and referee Asuma Nelson and Jeff Fennick at Caesars Outdoor. And the fight ended up a draw. And it was a hell of a fight. And that was my first time refereeing in Las Vegas. They said, Joe, now if you move here, these are the kind of fight that you're going to be doing like Richard Steele and Mills Lane and Carlos Padilla and Davey Pearl. They were doing the big fights, those guys. Mm-hmm. But they brought me in. And then I said, all right. So then I made the move out here. And in 1992, that's when I got recruited here. Officially, I became a resident in 1992. So I made the move, and then the rest is history.
Incredible. I mean, there are so many fights that I'm sure dozens of them stand out. There's one of them that everybody in here has got to remember this fight, man. You know, Floyd Mayweather and vicious Victor Ortiz.
Yeah.
With the headbutts. Was that?
Every time I do interview, people always question me on that. So Joe, walk us through what happened. I say, okay, let me first say that I was with Victor Ortiz many months after that fight. We were at ESPN. I was doing the commentating for ESPN Deportes, and we had him on the panel talking about boxing. And then they asked that question, hey, Victor, what happened that night with Floyd Mayweather? He said, well, what happened that night? He said, it was my fault. He said, I started headbutting. That's something I never did before. But he said, my trainers told me to headbutt Floyd Mayweather, and that caused all that chaos to happen. I kissed Mayweather, so I apologize. I was sorry. I hugged him the second time. I want to try to kiss him the third time. And then when Joe put his time in, I said, time in. All right, time in. And I looked at the timekeeper to make sure he saw me, that I gave the sign to time in. The timekeeper said, you know, he saw me. But they were blocking me a little bit. So he saw, and then when I went like this, next thing I know, Floyd Mayweather, the guy, Victor Ortiz, went to hug him again. Floyd Mayweather clocked him with a left hook and a right hand. And Larry Merchant said it best. It was a legal sucker punch. You know, Victor Ortiz meant to hug him again, but this is not a hugging and kissing match. This is a fight. You got to protect yourself at all times, keep your guards up at all times. Anyway, I feel sorry for Victor because he's a real nice guy, a gentleman, first-class guy, and a good fighter. But that night, he lost his cool by headbutting Mayweather. That's when I took the point. He cut Mayweather's lip, and called for, and that's a controversial call. People say, come on, Joe, look what you let him get away with that. But you know what? Like Larry Merchant said, it was a legal sucker punch. Keep your guards up at all times.
That's just what Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley at ringside.
Yeah.
Protect yourself at all times. The first thing you learn in the gym.
Yeah, man.
And I feel sorry for Victor. You know, to this day, he's a nice guy. He's a gentleman, first-class guy. I like him a lot. Good guy. But, you know, we got to follow the rules. And I'm the referee, and I can't say, well, you know, that didn't happen. That's just what happened. You know, he went to hug him again. You know, we said, time, man, how many times you going to hug your
Yeah.
Sorry. You're going to kiss him on the cheek like he did. You don't have to be doing that. And that's what caused him to fight, you know. But people don't like it because Victor Ortiz meant well after he committed that foul, that flagrant foul. But I had to do what I had to do as a referee. And people didn't like that. I know people always question me on that. Joe, can you tell us what actually happened? But you know what? Ask Victor Ortiz one day yourself. Get him on the show and ask him what happened. He'll tell you what happened. It was his trainers that told him to headbutt Mayweather intentionally. If that would have never happened, that fight would have ended up probably Mayweather stopping because that's where he was going. Mayweather started to put the pressure on him, and that's when he started freaking out and did the dirty tactics because his trainers told him to do so. But, you know, boxing, you can't permit that in boxing. And I'm there to do my job. And I don't care, you know, if you're Hispanic, like myself. I don't operate that way. I'm here as a neutral person. I'm here to do my job and do it the best of my ability.
Let me, and I want to piggyback off of that, but I know Troy has a question, but I do, Troy, if you don't mind, before you jump in, I do want to piggyback off of that because I do want to know, as an ex-boxer, as you know, going through the motions of actually learning the sport, refereeing, judging, and all of that, right? What fight would you say that you were part of? Because you've been a part of so many championship fights. What fight where were you refereeing where you couldn't believe that you were refereeing this, like you were watching that like right in front of your eyes instead of people having a, you know, one side of the corner or on TV, you know, pay-per-view, you're literally watching this and refereeing this fight. What fight sticks out to you?
Well, let me tell you, one of the greatest experiences I ever had in my life. I've had several, but one that stands out a lot is when I refereed Julio Cesar Chavez against Greg Haugen in Mexico City with 136,000 fans in the audience. You know, when I went to Azteca Stadium and I looked in there, and I was in the middle of that ring, and I'm looking to my left, I'm looking to my right, as far as I can see, that place was packed. I mean, most recently I went to a football game watching my grandson. My grandson, Bryce Hampton, plays for Purdue University. Matter of fact, they lost today against LSU. But when I would watch my grandson at the 70,000 fans, I told Bryce, there's a lot of fans in here. But you know, when I refereed Chavez and Haugen, it was twice the size, 136,000 fans. That's a lot of fans. And the feeling, I couldn't believe that I'm in the middle of this ring here in Mexico City with a great legend like Julio Cesar Chavez. And I'm there to do my job. I don't care who really wins, but I say to myself, if something goes wrong, I hope that nothing goes wrong in this fight. If something goes wrong in this fight, I'm the referee. They're going to lynch me in the middle of that ring there in Mexico City.
Yeah, hell yeah. You got 136,000 Aztecs ready to. You Taino.
I think 134,000 were rooting for Chavez. The other was just rooting for Haugen because they were his relatives or his trainer or whatever. But it was unbelievable, the crowd there. It was just an honor to be there because, I mean, it was one of the great fights. Of course, then again, it was another great fight that I refereed was when George Foreman knocked out Michael Mora for the heavyweight championship of the world. I mean, that was an unbelievable experience because nobody gave George Foreman a chance at the age of 45 fighting, Michael Mora, who was a lefty, fighting left-handed, and he was a good boxer. He beat a lot of champions out there. And then everybody would say, well, Mora's probably going to walk. And he would be winning the fight all 10 rounds. He was winning up until the 10th round. He was winning every round. You know, they were competitive, but Mora was definitely winning the fight with no problem until he got caught with a short left hook and a short right-hand punch, and he went on his back. When he went on his back, and I said, I pushed George Foreman, like to push a brick wall. He was like frozen himself for a quick second, and he went to the neutral corner. I said, I picked up the count at 4, 5, 6, 7. When I was at 7, I said, this second getting up. 8, 9, 10, that was it, you know. And Michael Moore was counted out, and one of the players going crazy. I looked at George Foreman. He dropped down to his knees. He looked up like praying to God. Thank God, you know. He couldn't believe it himself, you know. He come 20 years later after winning the championship fight the first time around when he knocked out Joe Frazier, and now he comes back 20 years later and regains the heavyweight championship, unheard of, you know. But there's been many great fights. Roberto Duran beating Iran Barkley for the middleweight championship in the world. Who the hell would have thought that Iran Barkley was going to get dropped in the 11th round by Roberto Duran? And it was one of the greatest fights you ever want to see because Roberto Duran, at the age of 35, nobody gave him a chance of a young 28-year-old Iran Barkley who just finished knocking out Tommy Hearns. You can't forget that Tommy Hearns had knocked out Roberto Duran before that. So, you know, people say, well, if Tommy Hearns knocked out Roberto Duran, how's Roberto Duran going to be Iran Barkley? I mean,
triangle theory, yeah.
I mean, Barkley knocked out Tommy Hearns. And not anybody can knock out Tommy Hearns. I mean, Sugar Atlantic had difficulty with Tommy Hearns. But that was an experience worth me, that middleweight championship in Atlantic City with Roberto Duran winning on a split decision. That was another one. And another great one was Chavez when he fought Oscar De La Hoya the first time. It was at Caesar's Palace Outdoor Stadium. It was an unbelievable fight. and I had to stop it in the fourth round because Chavez got a severe cut, from a hard jab when Oscar hit him with a hard jab, and he played him in the first round. It was clearly a big cut, and I said, could it be, because it was not a minor, and it was not in the side, it was right over the whole eyebrow. And so I gave him a chance up until the fourth round. When I called in the doctor for the third time, I just felt like Chavez was getting hit with some punches. He couldn't see. He was blind from his own blood. He couldn't see. So I saw he going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt seriously. I called time. They make him to the doctor again one more time. And the doctor said, "Doc, his cut getting a little worse." And the doctor looked at me and said, "Yeah, Joe, that's it. Let's stop it." And I waved it off. I stopped it. That was one of the biggest upset, in history of the boxing world, because Chavez was a big idol. He was a legend in boxing to get stopped. But that was the passing of the torch from Chavez to Oscar De La Hoya.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate that, man. Shit, you took me back with some of those fights. Troy, it's on you, man.
All right, Joe, back again. Back again.
Yeah.
All right, 170 championship fights, brother? 170?
I think 176 from what they told me.
176, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I was going to ask you, man, because you have an eye of a boxer and then you become a referee. Did you ever feel that you didn't stop a fight when you should have stopped the fight? You kind of hesitated, or?
No.
No?
I never had that problem. I think I'm pretty accurate with stopping the fights.
Mhm.
The only time I didn't like stopping the fight was when I had to disqualify a fighter.
Okay.
And I remember
Who was that, Joe? Yeah, who did you have to disqualify?
I disqualified Kirk Johnson against John Ruiz for the heavyweight championship, WBA heavyweight championship. Kirk Johnson started hitting low. I warned him about it. I gave some warning. Then I started taking some point. I took a point the first time. He did it again. I said, "Listen, you got to stop throwing it. This could cause you disqualification." And so, he's hitting low again. Taking the point the second time. And I told him, I went in the corner. I said, "Listen, you hit him low one more time, you're gonna get disqualified."
Okay.
I know he was looking for a way out, I guess.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how would you go low like that? It was like Andrew Galata when he fought Red Bull. He was winning the fight and ended up hitting Red Bull's low time so many times, he ended up getting disqualified. So I had to do that with Kirk Johnson, hit him low the third time, raised my hands over the air, I waved it off, said, "That's it, disqualification." You hate to do that. And I also had to disqualify another fighter by the name of Maromero Paez. It was
The clown? You talking about the clown?
Yeah, the clown Maromero, and he was a good fighter, but he hit the guy with a body shot. The guy goes down on one knee. He looks at him. Well, he's on one knee. He looks at him. Then he clocks one more time, and the guy rolls over. As soon as he hit him with that shot, it was like 2 seconds after he went down. He looked at him. He actually looked at him and clocked him again. I just threw my hands over the head. I just waved it off, disqualifying right on the spot. You hate to do that.
I saw that fight.
People
I saw
don't
that
come
fight,
there.
yeah.
There was a small fight here at the Orleans Hotel in Las Vegas at the beginning when I came out to Vegas. But I hate to do that to fighters. I don't want to disqualify a fighter. But those are the duties of a referee. And you can't. Some referees say that they're afraid to stop a fight or to take points of a fighter because they're in their hometown or in their foreign country. And I told the referee, if you're going to be afraid to take a point from a fighter or to disqualify a fighter because you're in his hometown, if you're afraid, then you shouldn't be refereeing. But Joe, we have referees, they get beat up, they can do something to them in the ring. I said, listen, then don't referee. If you can't do that, don't referee, because then you're not being fair. You got to be, I got to say to myself, and I've said it many times, you have to kill me before I reverse the decision. You got to make a job, do your job and do it 100% from your heart. Otherwise, go find something another job. You got a thick skin in boxing to be a referee. It's not easy, but you got to do it. And I'm the nicest guy in the world. Believe me, people that know me know the kind of guy I am. But when it comes to my refereeing, it's a different story. I do my job 100%.
That's what I've always liked about you. You were always, the fair but firm. But if you had to step up in a fighter's chest and tell him, you got to stop doing that,
You have to.
you did it in a way that he understood, and if he was on the right
You
side
had
of it, he wouldn't do it again.
commanded respect. You commanded
Right.
respect.
I had to.
Exactly.
One time I was doing Chavez and Pernell Whitaker, and as I went to break him up, Whitaker kind of pushed my arm out the way to get at Chavez. And when he pushed my arm out of the way, I said, "Oh, wait, don't be pushing me." He didn't push me directly. He pushed my arm. He was just trying to get at Chavez a little quicker. He wasn't pushing me, but he pulled my arm out of the way, and I had to stop him right there and tell him, "You do that again, you're not going to cost you. You may be disqualified. Don't be pushing me like that." But I had to get in his face and tell him. He tried to hug me. He tried to put his arms around. I pushed him away. Don't get away. You can give me a clean fight. I put him to let him fight again. But that's the way it is sometimes in boxing. You got to be tough. Me being a New Yorker, I used to be bullied a lot when I was a kid. Well, boxing got me out of that fear of being afraid of somebody. Boxing made me a stronger guy, tougher, and learn how to take control. Like I said, if I would have not been that kind of a guy to take control, I would have never been a referee. I have to get respect, but everybody knows I'm the kindest guy in the world. I love people. Even today, that's why I have my show, the Joe Cortez show. You see it on Facebook or on YouTube channel. I do a show every Friday. I love talking about kids. I like talking to seniors. I love talking to groups of individuals. I try to inspire individuals because I care for them. I love people out there. My thing is to help them out. Just like I was helped out when I was growing up in Spanish Harlem in New York. My mother raised 4 boys by herself. And Gaspar Indian Ortega from Mexico came in. He was like a big brother and kept me on the right track, kept me out of gang. I know how to, we never did any drugs, all because I got into boxing. And I always thank Gaspar Ortega for that. His son, Mike Ortega, moved out to Vegas. He's going on 2 years now. I got him out here. We recruited him out to Vegas. He's now he's refereeing in Vegas. Mike Ortega, the son of the great Gaspar Indian Ortega. Gaspar Indian Ortega had 185 professional fights. And he only got stopped twice. Once by Emil Griffith for the welterweight championship. And that was Gaspar's 81st professional fight. They didn't give him a shot when he was younger. Even though he was young when he fought Griffith, but he had a lot of fights, 80 fights. He got stopped by Emil Griffith, TKO in the 11th round. Then he got stopped by Sandro Massingi in Italy in between rounds in the corner. The only 2 times that Gaspar Ortega got stopped in his whole career out of 185 professional fights. I mean, that says a lot about the grounded chin that he had.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but okay, Joe, that's the name to bring up. Mr. Griffin. It's definitely a name to bring up. He was a great fighter.
Emil Griffith was a good fighter. My brother Mike was a sparring partner with him a lot in New York in Emil Griffith's time, in his prime when he was young. But Emil Griffith got first shot because when Emil Griffith fought his first main event in Madison Square Garden, it was against Gaspar Indian Ortega. And Gaspar Indian Ortega, him and there was another fighter that had 29 main events in Madison Square Garden. And there was one other fighter, I forgot his name offhand. I don't know if it's Tiger Jones, but it was somebody that had one more fight than Gaspar Ortega main event. So Gaspar gave Emil Griffith a first shot for Griffith when he was 21 years old against Gaspar Ortega. And Gaspar Ortega lost a split decision to Emil Griffith. And about 10 years later, Griffith gave Gaspar Ortega a shot at his world championship. But Gaspar Ortega beat Benny Kid Perret when Perret was welterweight champion of the world. But guess what? The title was not on the line. It was a non-title fight. And Gaspar Ortega beat Benny Kid Perret. But I call Gaspar the uncrowned champion because he did beat Benny Kid Perret, but no title was on the line today. Okay,
Joe, I got one more question for you. What's the most purest fight you had to referee where you were saying to yourself, this is actually not even work. The fight was clean. It was a pure fight, and it just, everything went well in the ring that night.
Well, Roberto Duran, I ran boxing. Look at that fight. You can look at that fight 100 times. Every time you watch a fight, you see something different because every round was clean. It was hardly no clinching at all. I mean, it was just one of the best fights that Roberto ever fought. You watch a fight over and over. You were talking about sitting down and enjoying yourself. Watch that fight. And the other fight I like to watch a lot was also Mickey Ward when he fought Arturo Gatti. Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, they fought 3 times. And those every fight was a war. Talking about Warriors, Mickey Ward, and Arturo Gatti, Warriors and
That's what's up. Yo, let me pass it to Bruce because I know Bruce has a lot of questions as well. I don't want to be stingy with the time for myself, right? Because I know that I'll follow up with some questions, but I know Bruce had actually a great question when you guys were trying to work back into the studio. So, by the way, Joe, just let me know at any point, because since we started a little late because of the technical difficulties, you just let me know whenever it is time for you to go, brother. I respect your time, but
Man,
but that's why
I can talk to you guys for 24 hours about boxing with me.
that's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, I love it. I love it. So then let me get Bruce on the panel because I definitely have some deep questions as well. But I know Bruce, was like it brought nostalgia for him. This guy loves boxing just like we do. Okay, and so go ahead, Bruce. It's your turn, bro.
Bring
All
it on,
right,
bro.
all right, man. Once again, I know we just lost two legendary referees. It seemed like within a week, Mills Lane and Steve Smoga. Can you share any memories of those two great referees?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me tell you, Mills Lane, let's get it on.
All you guys had a saying, man.
Yeah, and Mills Lane and Steve Smoger, another good referee. I remember helping out Steve Smoger when he got into refereeing. He was a court judge in Atlantic City. He started refereeing a preliminary fight back in the 70s. I was helping him out in the 80s. He started coming up, and I was helping him out a lot. We traveled together to Italy to do a title fight. I was a judge, and he was a judge. I was the referee of a fight that we did out there. And that was the beginning of Steve Smoger's career. A good guy, and he did a lot of major fights. And I remember as a referee working also with Mills Lane. Mills Lane was from Reno, Nevada. A good referee. He got a degree when he graduated from college, a business, a PhD in business, and then he became an attorney. Then he became a judge, a real judge. He took me into his chambers one day up in Reno, Nevada, when I was refereeing George Foreman up there against Jerry Cortez. And Mills Lane took me to his chamber, and I looked at his room, his office, where he said, Judge, this is where I sit back here before I go out to do the trial. He was a good guy, a good referee, a lot. He wasn't that big, but he took control of his fighters in the ring. He knew how to take control. He demanded respect while he was refereeing, and everybody respected him because he took control. I always tell referees, to make your job easier is take control back in the dressing room. When you're back in that dressing room and you're going to give them the pre-fight instructions, that's where you take control. Mm-hmm. They know when you go in there, they got your 100% attention when you're talking to them, because when you're in the middle of the ring, you say, okay, guys, we follow the rules in the dressing room. We want a good, clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. Give a good fight, shake hands. That's short. But prior to that, in the dressing room, we take 5 minutes or so, to go over the instructions, maybe 10 minutes, go there, ask kind of questions. Hey, Joe, but he has a habit of hitting low, or he has a habit of using his head. Okay, well, I'll take control of that. But they bring it to your attention. But I always tell the referee, today you guys got the luxury of watching the fights on YouTube channel. If you know who you're refereeing, go on YouTube channel and watch these guys, their fights, and see what happens, how they fight. They have a habit of hitting low. They have a habit of maybe spitting out the mouthpiece intentionally. They have a habit of excessive holding, hitting behind the head, punching like that. That's all illegal shots. You got to be ready for it. So when you go to the dressing room, you say, hey, listen, you know what? I know you got a habit, of excessive holding. You got a habit of hitting your opponent when he goes on the canvas. You start doing that, and without taking some point. So I'm telling you right now, I'm a no-nonsense referee. I will take points if I have to. And if I got to disqualify you, I'll do it. You understand that? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So they know that you're not playing around. And if they do start breaking the rules in the ring, you go to the corner. Hey, remember what I told you in the dressing room? Any of the rough tactics, excessive fouling, low blows, spitting the mouthpiece out. It'll cost you points. You may be disqualified. So give me a clean fight. You understand that? Then you bring him back to normal.
Gotcha. I gotcha. It's funny. Before I pass it on, it's funny you mentioned Iran Barkley and Duran, because just before I got here, I was watching that fight, and I said, I'm going to go see Joe Cortez, and he's refereeing this fight. And it's unbelievable because I met Iran a few weeks ago, and I mean he's such a gentleman, and watching that fight, unbelievable. Roberto Duran come from back from the dead and knock Iran Barkley down, and that's another one that was a split decision. How did that get scored a split decision?
Well, it was a kind of a fight. You look at that fight; it was 12 rounds. It was back and forth. Every round there was hardly no clinching at all. The guys were fighting toe to toe, and it was like I don't think maybe out of the 12 rounds, I would say maybe 6 rounds, all 3 judges had the same, but the other 6 rounds they were split back and forth. It was a kind of a fight, It was hard for you to call a certain round for Duran or Barkley. Either way you went, you would call it the right way because it was that kind of a fight. There should have been a rematch after that, but I guess they didn't do it. But I mean, it was that kind of a fight. It deserved a rematch. It reminded me of Mickey Ward up to Rugatti. Those kind of a fight back and forth,
We've had Iran too. We've had our Iran. Shout out to the Iran Barkley. We've had him on the channel. Listen, we have also my brother G Funky Boxing in the building, and shout out to G Funky because when we were having difficulties, he did text me, but I had to use my phone to go for this live to get away from the technical issues. So I wasn't able to respond, but he actually offered to use his phone line because he has a phone line on his channel. So thank you very much, G Funky, my brother. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and the floor is yours, man. Ask any question.
Go ahead, G Funky. It's all yours, buddy.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Major Key. I appreciate it, and thanks for your time, Joe Cortez. Real pleasure meeting you tonight.
Thank you, same here, buddy. It was an honor talking to you guys. I had so much fun. Now that I've been retired for 10 years as a referee, after putting 35 years in there, I always enjoy talking to you guys. You guys ask me all kinds of questions. I like to talk about boxing. Sometimes there's fans out there that were not around. Maybe they were too young to experience what I experienced, or what some of you guys have experienced. It's been sometimes I got to pinch myself to say, oh, some of these major fights. But you guys got to remember the fights, Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield. They fought 3 times. I did the first one and the third one. Mills Lane did the second one. And it was amazing. That's when the fan man came in. That was Mills Lane. And that's the only loss that Riddick Bowe had in his career when he lost to Holyfield to the fan man. Then the third fight out of the trilogy, Bowe stopped Holyfield. I stopped, I believe it was in the 6th round. I had to stop the fight. 6th or 8th round, I forgot.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment there with the fan, man. But I want to ask you I just got one question I want to ask you, and then I'm going to jump off and let somebody else come on. But you worked a fight when George Foreman made his comeback in the late 80s and the early 90s. But you worked the fight with him and Jerry Cooney. Now, that's one of the most vicious knockouts that I think I've ever seen in my time watching boxing. Could you just describe to us what that power was like witnessing it that close up? Because a lot of people consider Foreman to be the hardest puncher in the history of the sport.
Yeah, well, George Foreman was making a comeback. He had been retired for I don't know how many years, 10 years, 15 years. He was retired. He started coming back. But when he fought Jerry Cooney, that fight took place in Atlantic City. And I remember that night, and I look at George Foreman. I knew Cooney was a devastating punch. He had a good left hook, He had a good left hook. And I remember at the end of the first round, the round, just before the round ended, the bell before it started, he hit Foreman with a left hook and buckled Foreman's knees, I said, ooh, wow, that was a hell of a shot, Anyway, so Foreman go back to his corner, and then they come back out again. And before you know it, then Foreman started putting the pressure on him and knocked him down one time. Then I got close to the action, and then before you know it, Cooney was trying to get away from some punches. Foreman then nailed him again with another left and a right hand. And Cooney, as soon as Cooney went down, I could look at his eyes. He was going down. I waved it off and started. I didn't even bother to count the way he was going. He went like a ton of bricks. Hit that canvas. And I said, boom. I said, that's it. Oh, it's over. And Foreman was like a cloud night that he knocked out Jerry Cooney, up and coming contender. He already fought Larry Hunt for the title, but he was later on. But still, Cooney was a tough fighter. And Foreman was able to to become victorious that night. What a great night of boxing for the boxing fan who love. The heavyweight division is always considered the glamour division, and Foreman performed that night.
And
Absolutely,
Cooney was
man.
6'6", wasn't he? He's like freaking 6'6", Cooney. He was a tall dude.
I know he's tall. I don't know if he's 6'6", but he's about 6.
Yeah, I believe,
6'5".
because we interviewed him before. I think he's like 6 something. Yeah, he's like up there. Like, he's a pretty freaking tall dude. Because I'm 6'4.5", and I know that he was taller. He's taller than me. That's yeah.
Okay. Well, the guys that were tall that I refereed, both of the brothers were the Klitschko brothers.
Yes.
One was 6'7", the other was 6'5", something like that. Two big giants, the Klitschko brothers. I couldn't even pronounce their name. I refereed those guys back in Great Britain before they came out to Vegas. People couldn't even pronounce their names. I just said these two big guys, the big guy in Great Britain, the guy going to be a world champion one day. So I already picked him out before he was even known in the United States, and they took over the division for many years, both of them.
I tell you what, Joe. You know that punch that George caught Cooney with, right, when he walked up to him kind of subtly and threw the uppercut, right?
Right.
You know where he got that from? Jersey Joe Walcott.
Jersey Joe Walcott.
If you watch his fights, Jersey Joe, that was his thing. He would walk up to you kind of subtle, boom. Yeah. That's Jersey Joe.
You mentioned Joe Walcott. When I got my license in New Jersey back in the, I think it was 1979 in New Jersey, because I was ready to referee in New York in 77. So somebody took me and said, Joe, this commissioner here in New Jersey, Jersey Joe Walcott, want to meet him? I said, sure. I like being honest. So they took me up to meet him at the rooftop at some hotel in New Jersey. And I went up to him and I said, hey, champ, how you doing? He said, Joe, he said, you're that little skinny Puerto Rican I've been watching on TV the last couple of years. You look pretty good. I said, yeah, I'm trying. I said, I'll never be a champ like you, but man, you had it all. I told him, just Joe Walker, one of the greatest. He said, Joe, you know what? I said, you like to be licensed in New Jersey? I said, I would love to. He said, I want you to come and see Bob Lee at the office. I let him know you're coming by. Come on by next week and we'll get you a license. I said, wow. It was just like that. He asked me if I want to be a referee. I said, wow. So he gave me my license in New Jersey. I remember Jersey Joe Walker, he refereed a fight with was it Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali, was it?
The Phantom Punch in Lewiston, Maine, the rematch.
Yeah, Ali and
Jersey Joe Walker was the referee for that, right? If I'm not mistaken.
First and last title fight. Yep.
Yeah, but
he was still in good shape too when he refereed that fight. He was in great shape.
When I used to be down in Atlantic City, he would live up, I think it was in Jersey City someplace. And I said, well, I live in Hackensack, so I got to go past Jersey City. The commissioner, if you want, I'll drop you off. He said, okay. So he would get in my car and I would drop him off at his house. It was an honor taking him, he was a good man, gentleman, class act.
Joe, how well do you guys have to stay in shape to do a 12 and a 15 round fight? You guys have to train like a boxer. You have to do cardio.
You see me now?
I see you, brother. I see you, man.
I still stay in shape. I don't, you know what? I told the referees, if you in there in that ring with these two fighters with great condition, they look physically fit. You don't want to go in there and look like you. You gotta stay with them. You gotta move with them. You gotta keep that pace. And they're moving for 12 rounds, moving constantly around the ring, especially these lightweight guys. You gotta move with them. Because if you're too far away, by the time you get into an action with it, when you gotta throw a punch, the guy's getting hurt. By the time you get there, he took two extra punches because you couldn't get there on time because you're out of shape. You got to be like a dancer, constantly moving. And something happened. Like Zach Clayton, one of the greatest referees of all time, he told me, Joe, you got to be like a cat in the ring. I want you to be moving. If something happens, you got to be jumping, move over, be constantly in and out, move. Until one day, the great Arthur McCann told me, Joe, you're moving too fast in the ring, brother. You got to slow down a little bit. You're moving too fast in that ring. But I've always felt like, always in good shape, always ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go 2-3 fights a night, and you got to stay in shape.
Man, I can still do them today, man. I still feel good.
Unbelievable. Hey, how was it? How was it refereeing Mike Tyson? You refereed a lot of Mike Tyson fights. Was he as bad a killer as I thought he was? 86 to 89.
Well, I refereed 8 of his fights. As they're coming up the ranks up until then. Then when he went to distance the first time, James Quick Tillis, that fight took place up in New Paltz, New York, and Mike Tyson had a difficulty. He couldn't knock him out. That's the first time. I think it was 17 fights in a row. He knocked everybody out. He couldn't knock out James Quick Tillis. You see, and James Quick Tillis, kind of boxed him from the outside, and then Tyson knocked him down, a flash knockdown. Up to this day, James Quick Tillis talks. His claim to fame is that he went to distance with Mike Tyson. He was the first fighter to go to distance with Mike Tyson. Nobody else could do that. And of course, I did Mike Tyson when he knocked out Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's son.
And
that fight took place up in
Verona, I think, wasn't it?
And I remember giving the instructions to the fighter in the dressing room. Then when I came out to inside the ring before the fight, I said, "Okay, guys." I looked at Joe Frazier, Marvis Frazier, and his father was right next to him. I said, "Marvis, Mike, I want a good clean fight." And as I looked at Marvis Frazier, I could see he was like that fear in his eyes. I said, "Oh man." And Mike Tyson was staring him down. Mike Tyson will knock you out with the stare. He gives you that. He can scare you just looking at him. And my instructions were longer than the fight. 30 seconds in the first round, the fight was over.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've had some great experiences in life. Meeting some good people along the way. I've had the honor of having Joe Frazier to come to my house with Marvis Frazier after many years after they retired. I have a gym, a boxing ring at my house. And Joe Frazier was talking about his gym. I said, "Joe, we were at a fundraiser here in Vegas." And he said, "Joe, I remember my gym." I said, "Marvis and Joe, not for nothing, but you want to see a gym? Come and look at my gym." I said, "All right." So we got in the limo. It was a Sunday afternoon. And there was a bunch of attorneys. The event with some attorneys here in Vegas. And we went to and I remember Joe Frazier was in a wheelchair that day because he had a problem with his back. He had kind of a surgery or something. So someone was pushing him. They were pushing him through my house, all the way down the hall, all the way down to the gym in the back. When he walked into my gym, he looked at it, he said, "Wow, man, Joe, this is some gym." He was so impressed with it. I had the honor of having Joe Frazier at my house looking at my gym. These are great moments that I had with great champions like that. Muhammad Ali, I had the honor of raising his hand. I never got to referee Ali because when he retired, I was just starting out as a referee. So I was never ready to do his fights. But the only time I raised his hand up in the air was the night that I refereed Mike Tyson against Larry Holmes. And it was in Atlantic City. And I remember they introduced him in the ring. I said, "Oh, hell." When they introduced him, he was waving, and I came over to him, and I raised his hand up in the air. I held it up in the air. That was the only time I got to raise Muhammad Ali's hand up. I never refereed him, but I've been with him on numerous occasions in Puerto Rico and in New York, and then including Mike Tyson's last fight against Kevin McBride in Washington, D.C. Muhammad Ali was there that night, and Muhammad Ali's daughter, Layla Ali, fought that night as well. So that's when I got to see Muhammad Ali for the last time. And he was not the same Muhammad Ali that I met, in his younger years.
Beautiful, beautiful story, man. Beautiful story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any fights with Simon Brown?
Simon Brown, yes, I did. But that was back in the beginning of my career. He was fighting in the early 80s, around there, mid-80s. And I remember refereeing this fight. I don't know if it was against Terry Norris or somebody, but I refereed several times in Atlantic City. There's been so many fights. I tell you, I refereed close to, over 1,000 fights, professional fights. And, some fighters come up to me and say, "Mr. Cortez, you refereed so many of my fights." I did? He said, "Yeah, I refereed my championship fight." Miguel Cotto, I never got to referee your fight, buddy. He said, "Yes, you did." I said, "When?" He said, when I stopped Martinez, the Argentina middleweight champion.
Yeah, Sergio.
He stopped Sergio. And I said, "Well, I don't remember doing that fight." He said, "Yeah, you refereed that fight." I said, "Wow." It was a preliminary fight. It was not even a 10-round fight. I think it was an 8-rounder.
Yeah. So I was going to actually ask you about that as well. Like, did you get because you told us about so many other champions that you refereed. Did you get to see Floyd at the height of his career, Pacquiao? Did you referee any of those fights?
Yes, I have. I refereed Pacquiao 3 times. I refereed Floyd Mayweather about 5, 6 times. Yeah, no, I think I referred, I think 4 times, Manny Pacquiao 3 times. And Manny Pacquiao, the great fight that he had when he went for Woman and Marquez, the first time they fought, he put Marquez down 3 times in the first round.
Yep.
I remember
2005. I remember that fight.
Bar Arum, when they fought the 4th time, Bar Arum, they were interviewing Bar Arum, the promoter. He said, you guys seem to forget that if it was for Joe Cortez, if he would have stopped our first fight when Marquez went down 3 times in the first round, if he would have stopped it, fight 2, 3, or 4 would have never occurred,
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, Omar Marquez called me yesterday with a friend of his from Texas. He went to Texas, wanted to say hello, And these guys, I'm surprised that, they called to wish me a Happy New Year. Some of these fighters, after I retired from boxing, I became a commentator for Showtime and from a referee's perspective as a boxing analyst and for ESPN. So I got to meet some of these champions, and they say, wow, Joe, you referee my fights. And now I'm able to talk with them as to when they were fighting, they were active. I had to keep my distance because you couldn't fraternize with fighters, managers, or trainers.
There's a conflict of interest. Yeah.
I always kept my distance. I didn't want to be stuck up or anything like that, but I knew it wasn't right. Even promoters, Don King, Barraro, all those guys, I try to stay away from them, because you can't fraternize with them as an official. If you want to look in the mirror when you retire from boxing and say, you know what, I did the right things in boxing, I can look in the mirror and I can say that, so you got to be careful. You can't ask promoters, commissioners for job assignments. You got to let your work talk for itself. When you work good in that ring, you don't have to be worrying about what fight you're going to do next. They're going to call you automatically if you do a good job. And I was able to work with all sanctioning bodies, with WBA, WBC, WBO, the IBF. I worked with all of them. I would always travel the whole world over and over. All because I did the right thing, did my job right. I didn't have to ask nobody for any favors. I didn't want favors. I wanted to do it the right way, the way it's supposed to be as an official.
Go ahead, Bruce. I could see you came off a cam.
Oh well, I mean, there's so many questions that we can ask him. I live in Rhode Island, man, and I saw you referee a fight between Marvin Hagler and Wilfred Scipion at the Providence Civic Center. It was for the initial IBF middleweight title. In fact, Hagler was already undisputed WBA and WBC, but yet that fight was only for the IBF, which I thought was really weird.
You sure I refereed that fight, or was I a judge?
I'm pretty sure you were the ref in that fight, man. I could go back and look, but
I'm going to check it out myself tonight because I've been so many years, so many fights. It's hard for me to keep track of 175 of them.
You have any good memories of Marvin Hagler?
Oh yeah, Marvin Hagler. Well, I tell you, I was looking at a picture of him and his wife yesterday. I took a picture of them. We were having lunch together when I got inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame up in Canastota, New York. And then several times after that, he was there when I got inducted. And every time I went up there for the induction ceremonies, he would always want to be with me. For some reason, I don't know, he liked me a lot. He said, Joe, wherever I go, I want you to be with me. If big crowds are forming around me, you grab me with my arm and pull me, and I'll leave the crowd. I don't want to be around too many people. So at any time we went someplace, an event or something, they had a dinner event at the Hall of Fame or whatever, and ceremonies and whatnot. And when he would say, Joe, just grab me by my arm and pull me away. I said, you got it, brother. He was a good guy, and his wife were nice. And he was a gentleman, first class all the way, sharp. He had it all up here, very intelligent, very likable person, very friendly with the fans. He was somebody that we met, may his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely.
I also want to offer my condolences. But a couple of days ago, the great boxing judge, Jerry Roth, passed away about 3 or 4 days ago here in Las Vegas. Yeah, so we lost.
Peace, Jerry Roth.
Yeah, within a month, we lost Mills Lanes, Steve Morgan, and Jerry Roth, three Hall of Famers.
Absolutely. Condolences all the way around.
Yeah. I was in the induction for Jerry Roth, but he got inducted several years back. And I'm in Nevada. When I got inducted, 2011, I got inducted, and I felt that Mills Lane and Richard Steele should have been inducted before me because they were here. They were the stepping stones, here in Vegas. They were the guys, you had to get past those guys. And I was honored and surprised when I got that call from Ed Brophy, the director of the International Hall of Fame up in Canton, New York. He said, Joe, you're going to be nominated for the Hall of Fame. We'll see what happens, and we'll let you know officially. And the first weekend of December, we will notify you if you're going to be inducted or not. So I was up in Ballard, and when I got that call from Ed Brophy, I was going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame 2011. I couldn't believe it. But then when I got in there, I said to myself, wow, we got to get Richard Steele. We got to get Mills Lane in here somehow. So, I always spoke very well about that. I said, we got Richard Steele, Mills Lane. Mills Lane had a stroke about 11 years ago. I said, we got to get him in there the sooner the better because we don't know how long he's going to be around. So he couldn't speak much, and he was, kind of, in the wheelchair all the time. So, we spoke on his behalf. And before you know it, I got inducted in 2011. And 2013, he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. In 2014, Richard Steele got inducted to the Hall of Fame. So I was very honored to be inducted with a nice group of individuals, and having the three of us in Nevada inducted in the Hall of Fame. It's an honor for me. And the year that I got inducted, was with Sylvester Stallone. And a lot of people say, well, Sylvester Stallone, he's not even a fighter, he's an actor. I said, well, with the Rocky movies, well, I got inducted with Sylvester Stallone, Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Carter Zoo, Nacho Berenstein, and myself. 6 of us got inducted.
And you were in the Rocky movies also.
Yes, I was in the Rocky movie. I played with, it was Antonio Tarver and, Rocky Balboa.
Yep.
That's the last one I did.
You actually played yourself.
It was nice. And I remember Sylvester said, Joe, I was at a fight one day, doing a fight, and I was sitting down waiting to go up to do the main event. I got a tap on the shoulder, and I was sitting down ringside waiting to go into the ring. And it was Sylvester Stallone. He was sitting with Sugar Ray Leonard. He said, Joe, I'm doing a movie, and I want you to be my referee. I said, oh, okay. We talked a little bit. He had my phone number. I gave my number. And before you know, a couple of weeks later, I get a call about the Rocky Balboa movie. I also, Eddie Murphy was another guy. Again, at the fight, he said, Joe, I want to be doing some movie. I want you to be refereeing my movie. It was called I Spy. I refereed that movie with Eddie Murphy. I Spy, we did that. We filmed that up in Vancouver. The Rocky movie, we filmed it here in Vegas. Then I also did one with Antonio Banderas. Woody Harrelson played To the Bone. I played the role as a referee for that, for the fight with Antonio Banderas, fighting for a championship. Then I also did one, Undisputed, with Vin Rames and Wesley Snipes.
Prison, yeah.
And Wesley Snipes was in prison, and when in the prison, Vin Rames was also a prisoner, and Vin Rames got knocked out by Wesley Snipes in prison. And when Vin Rames came out of prison, he became heavyweight champion of the world. And I was a referee in that fight. Towards the end of the movie. It was an honor. It's always been a lot of fun doing these fights. Who would have thought I'd be acting?
I remember that. That was Undisputed, right? Yeah, I do remember that. That was an old school one, yeah. Because there was a couple of boxing movies back in the day. There was The Great White Hype. There was Undisputed, and of course all the Rocky movies and stuff like that.
Yeah. And there was a Requiem for a Heavyweight. That was one of the first ones. But that was way back. That back in the 60s. That's where the movie started.
Anthony Quinn.
Anthony Quinn, exactly. Yeah. And I remember I was 16 years old, and they came to a gym where I was training up at the Mount Carmel CYO up in the Bronx. And some producers were there that said, hey, you know what? Hey, young man, come here. You hit this heavy bag pretty good. Can we record that sound? We're going to use that sound for the Requiem for a Heavyweight movie that we're doing. We're going to record you hitting the speed bag. So I was hitting the speed bag for them, They gave me $5 big bucks for hitting the speed bag for them.
And I'll tell you, that's a movie. Anybody out there, Requiem for a Heavyweight, Anthony Quinn, Jackie Gleason, that's the classic boxing movie. And hey, one more quick question. Now that showed the grimiest side of boxing. Have you ever seen any bribes? Have you ever seen any of that seamiest side you can speak of?
seen it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that there's been some throughout the years, and not at the high level, big championship fight. I hear about a small preliminary fight. You hear somebody, the guy bringing on another fighter. So this guy, you know, your opponent gonna knock him out. You know, and the guy went in. There was a fighter by the name of they call it a Mouse something Strauss.
Mouse Strauss, Brewster Mouse Strauss.
Bruce Mouse. He used to take dives all the time. He was known for that.
Yep.
You know, one day I was doing a fight in, and they threw a punch over his head, and he went down. Like if you got hit, I said, no, you didn't get down. You got to fight. He got up. I mean,
Yeah, he had a record of like 6 wins and 125 losses. And
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Bruce the Mouse Strauss. He
Right.
fought
You know,
everybody. He fought Marlon Starling. He fought
He fought
Curry.
them
I mean, he fought them all.
he will fight sometimes 2 times, 3 times a week.
Unbelievable. Live in his Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, he did.
Bruce the Mouse Strauss.
Yep, shit.
Yeah,
Man,
this
you are a treasure talking to, brother, man. You really are. It's an honor.
We gotta have you back on because there's too many more questions that we have, man. And since we
I
had
got
the
one more question before
technical, I'm a little behind with this, but go ahead, guys. Ask them any final questions, any roses you want to give them, whatever, you know what I mean. Go ahead and do that, and then I'll close with my final thoughts. But obviously, we want Joe to let everybody know also before he leaves where to follow him again. Just to make sure everybody subscribes and follows whatever he's doing. I know he said he has a boxing program or a show on Facebook every Friday, so we want to promote that as well. But go ahead around the panel. Any final questions, final thoughts, final comments?
I'll tell you, I have one. Joe, how old are you, brother?
How young am I?
How old are you?
You mean how young am I?
How young are you? Exactly. How young are you?
I'm 79 years young.
Wow.
I still feel like I still got a little spark to the old flesh. You know what I mean?
You are incredible, brother. You look like you could still referee 15 rounds with Ali. Oh man, I'll tell you. You're eating well.
Physically, I feel good. You know, I got hit with COVID 2020. I got hit with COVID real bad. I was hospitalized for 5 months in the hospital. Okay.
Wow.
And I went down to 135 pounds. I'm back to 155 now. But I lost 40 pounds while I was in the hospital. I still got my doctor said, stay where you are right now. You're super welterweight. 154, 55, you're good right there. You know?
God bless you, brother.
But I made it back. I mean, I saw the other side. It was not bad. I mean, I was in the hospital 5 months. When I came out, I was in the wheelchair. I was in a walker. And I tell you guys, no matter what, I refuse to take the full count. I will never quit, no matter what, because I got too many things to do out there. But the last chapter of my life is going to be my best one. I still got so much more because I want to help so many people out there. I love people. I love seeing it. As a matter of fact, I own a sister living here in Las Vegas. It's called La Mansion. La Mansion, LV.com. La Mansion, LV like in Las Vegas.com.
Yeah.
The website for my assisted living. Check it out. You'll see what I do, because I lived in a house there for 17 years, and we decided not to sell it, but to pay for it. I said, you know what? Let's do something. My daughters and my wife, everybody said, why don't you just keep that place and we will keep it to help other people who can live a nice lifestyle. So it's a high-end assisted living. It has only 12 suites, but it's an 18,000 square foot home on 5 acres, and it's the most beautiful assisted living you want to have. It's a high-end. There's a certain group of people that can afford to stay in that kind of a place, but every room is like a Ritz-Carlton type of suite, all high-end suites, and the best service, the best care, the most beautiful theater you want to see in a house, we have it there.
It's doing you well, man, because you look great, bro. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, man.
Yep.
You have me by 10 years. I look 10 years older than you. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And man, it was a pleasure being on here with you, man. God bless you.
All I say is keep your guards up at all time, protect yourself all the time, pay it forward, and love everybody, and keep that smile going all the time.
Okay,
That's
and Joe, let me ask you this before we get off here. With all that energy, and when you told me your age, I had you in your 60s. You kind of remind me of someone that you might know, Pepe Carrera. Pepe Carrera, the trainer.
It rings a bell, yeah, Carrera.
Yeah, Carrera. He was a trainer. He worked with Lennox Lewis and a whole bunch of other people. But
is he still alive?
I got to check. I got to check. But let me ask you this question here. If you had to referee the fight with Chavez, and Meldrick Taylor, would you have stopped it with 2 seconds left?
It's a question that a lot of people ask me about. It's tough when you're when you're in that ring. Your focus is to making sure the fighters don't take unnecessary punishment. And Richard Steele, been around. He was an ex-fighter himself, and I don't think he was really thinking about the time. He was looking right in his eye. He was asking, "You okay? You okay to continue? You okay to continue?" And he saw that he was out of it. And the duties of a referee is if the guy is not coherent, he's in a concussive episode. You got to say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to straight wave it off because he's out. And maybe Richard Steele wasn't looking at the time. So you got to respect the referee for what he was calling it, the way he saw it. He was there to do his job, to protect the fighter from taking unnecessary punishment. And, after that, Medicare was never the same. I don't even think he's still alive, but I heard he's not doing too well.
No, because his soul was broken in that fight. His soul broke. It wasn't his heart. His soul broke. They destroyed his soul in that fight.
Yeah, well, he was winning that fight up until the last couple of rounds. He was taking a pounding.
Chavez he was.
Chavez put the pressure on him, and then the last round, with the seconds to go, Chavez knew he had to knock him out in order to win because he was not going to win that decision, and he ended up losing to Chavez.
Yeah, that actually destroyed him. But this is my last comment. The truth is, Lou Duva had jumped up on the ring, and he actually distracted Taylor.
He distracted, exactly.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's why, because if you look at it, he turned to talk to Lou, and then by the time he turned back, all you saw was this. Yeah.
He saw that.
Yeah, that thing broke my. It still bothers me.
Yeah, he looked at Lou Duva. Lou Duva would stay down on the ring floor and not come up on the apron.
Yes.
The referee would have not distracted about the name the fighter. He got distracted.
Meldrick Taylor.
Meldrick Taylor was something else. A good fighter too.
Thank you for your time, brother, man. We're definitely gonna have you back. Thank you so much, man. You're a treasure, brother. You're definitely a treasure.
Very best.
Before I give my final comments, because I have no further questions, because if I start asking questions, it's going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, well, like you said, 24 hours of boxing talk, nonstop, no, I definitely appreciate your time. Let people know again, all the avenues that they can follow you on, what they need to subscribe to. Go ahead and take the time to do that.
Well, you go to the Joe Cortez show. You can see me on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube channel, you see all the shows that I've done. Most recently, I talked about 23 of the referees that I've worked with since I started refereeing in '77 to today. The 23 referees that I can remember, the names that I recognize, have passed away. 23. I said, wow, man, I could easily been one of them when I had that COVID back 2 years ago. I thought I was going to make it. A lot of people didn't think I was going to make it, but yeah. But watch the Joe Cortez show on the YouTube channel or Facebook, and Faber Firm. You can see on the Faber Firm, also see the show there. I'm always busy doing something. I'm going to be coming up with a new show. I'm going to have a co-host with me, Susan, who will be my co-host on the show coming up in the next month or so. She's going to be a co-host. I will do a 1-hour talk show talking about different topics, not only boxing. I want to talk about a regular talk show, just talking about anything in life. I like to bring people on my show as it is now, doctors, lawyers, all kinds of people, boxers, the trainers, promoters. I like to bring everybody on the show just to talk a little bit about what you're doing out there, and to get the message out there, especially to our youngsters out there, because today these young kids out there are not listening. And I can tell you, kids, if you're watching or parents are watching, pass this message to these young kids from Joe Cortez. Stay off drugs, drinking, smoking, all that going to hurt you down the line. But these kids with the fentanyl that's out there, the fentanyl, the drug that's being brought into the border from Mexico, this fentanyl comes from China and made in China. It's brought in. So many kids, so many young adults are dying from these drugs. Stay away from drugs. Don't do anything that's going to get you in. You want to get high or something, become a champion like I did. You're the best high in the world. You know, when you become a champion, it's something in life. You don't have to be a necessarily champion in the ring, but be a champion outside the ring. Help out in the community. Help out your neighbors, your family, your parents, man, your siblings, making sure that you make them proud of you. That's the biggest high you're going to get in the world. Nothing better than being a good person and paying it forward. And with that said, I love you guys. And have a happy 2023.
Well, thank you again, my brother, for showing up. Thank you for your time again. Listen, great stories we heard from you. Great interview, man. Thank you for Bruce Gas for popping up. Listen, man, we'll have to do this again. But in the meantime, man, you left a lot to absorb. So I definitely appreciate it, brother. You have a great rest of your New Year as well. Another edition of Major Key Boxing, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and end the show right now. Y'all have a great night.
Take care, guys. Take care. God bless. Love you all.